what's up. There we go. That should do it. Now I can probably talk. Sorry about that, Rogue. I know I didn't have any sound. Hey. Hey, what's up, Richard? Thanks for hanging in there for me for a moment. I had to do some tweaking to my OBS. I had altered it. Okay, I'm going to try and be real brief today because there's a lot of live streams going on tonight and been going on all day. And some of it's been very interesting. Watching Jade master a song over my lunch break was really fun. Although mastering is a great way to learn to not like a song a whole lot. Thank you. I'm glad the sound is all right. And I apologize for that. So, one thing real quick. One of my longtime clients and friends, Jeff, bought a kit guitar, and so he's building an instrument right now out of a kit. And he bought the body and the neck from different places. And he's brought all the parts in. He's doing a bunch of finish work on it, but he had me do the fret work on the fingerboard. And I just finished that up today, so I'm going to give you a little close-up of what those frets and fingerboard now look like. Pretty nice. Okay. And a couple of details about when I do this, that I level the fingerboard using the truss rod first, so that I know that the wood is level, and then I'm able to level the frets. I check them for high frets, and if any of them need to be tapped in or anything like that, I'll make those little adjustments, and then I'll level the fingerboard and crown them and polish them. So just a little kind of a step. I thought I'd show that to you. The big topic today is a Marshall DSL. I believe it's a DSL 100 amplifier. Here she is. Look at that. Glowing, tubes glowing in all her glory. And I may have had this on my on a Welcome to the Bench episode here a couple weeks back. Not quite sure, maybe a week ago. Yeah, those frets are. Hey, Steven, what's up? I got a good one for you today. I'm going to try and talk over the music my boss is listening to. I'm so sick of Americana music, but that's my problem. Let's see. Where did she go here? I find my... Where did they go? Got a whole bag of them sitting here. So the only problem with this amp was a fuse had blown in it. And in order to fix it, you got to pull the whole amplifier out of the chassis. Marshalls are not generally too complex to get out of a chassis. These ones in particular are fairly easy. However, you've got to go in and find what's wrong. And sometimes those little fuses are in the most god-awful places you can imagine. Steven, I know you know what I'm saying. Sometimes those little, they put the thing that breaks, they put in the most god-awful spot. This one didn't happen to be too hard, but that was all that was wrong with it. So the amp is up and running now. I'm gonna grab a guitar and play a little bit, and I want to kind of share with you a detail, a subject that was brought up last week with the young man that I rebuilt that Ibanez guitar for, that got used at an open mic the very same day I fixed it. Rebuilt all the electronics in it and used some old wire. It was really fun. This is the same exact guitar that I rebuilt the other day. Same exact guitar model, only this is not called a GAX 70 or a 50. It's got a different control configuration, but nonetheless, almost identical guitar to that one. 3-way switch, double humbuckers, that sort of thing. Very simple guitar. Let's see. And I've got this little guy down here. This is about a $50 pedal. It was a cheap one that came from Amazon, I think. Right? Okay, let's turn it off. And I've positioned my speaker in about the worst possible place you can put a speaker if you're playing guitar through an amplifier. Okay, so here's rule number one. Never stand directly in front of your amplifier. And always put your amplifier where you can hear it. Okay, I know we all know this stuff, but it seems like it needs to be repeated. If you are playing through an amplifier, if you're not, this may not help you at all, but you might find yourself at an open mic one of these days, and you've got to do this. So what I'm going to do is set this thing to high power, which is a full 100 watts, and the foot switch, the noise gate is shut off. Oh my goodness. What is... Isn't that amazing? That's pretty remarkable. Volume all the way up on the guitar. Let me make sure. Yeah, volume all the way up on the guitar and no noise. And why not? Got that gate set so hard. Oh wait, it helps to have my guitar plugged in. Ricky, isn't that fun to listen to? Now, again, the other night, at the gig, we all out in the audience got to listen to, I'm going to turn this down a little bit because I don't want to ruin my hearing. And so we got to listen to that because he didn't turn his volume down on his guitar at all while he was up on stage. So rule number one, if you're playing through an amp, use your volume knob. And the audience doesn't have to listen to that all night, okay? When you're done playing, turn the volume off. Now the other thing that you can solve is to position your amp where your drummer can hear it, because my understanding is that the drummer kept asking him to turn his amp up. If you're sitting up in front of that, that drummer has no idea that your ears, the ears of the audience, are getting blown out of the water. And we have all been that guy. If you've been playing guitar for very long, you got to turn it up as loud as it'll go. Okay. Furthermore, there's a gain control on your amplifier, and you can usually turn that down about half as high as you already have it, which is way too high to get good tone. I'm on the ultra high gain red channel on this amplifier, where this amp was set up when it came in here. I've turned the gain down to about 10 o'clock, and the master volume on that channel is at about 3 o'clock. So this thing is loud. And the noise gate is now on. Silence. 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 You just got to adjust the noise gate. Now, one of the best pieces of advice I can give anyone, if you're going to be playing a high gain amp, is number one, turn your gain down. You don't need it hotter than that. If your guitar is overdriven further than that, it likely sounds terrible, especially to those out in front of you. You don't need it that gained up. But the other thing that I highly recommend to every young person, even if you're an older dude that doesn't know this, put an effects or a noise gate in the effects loop of your amp. That's where this pedal is running. It's in the noise gate. It's not in the front of the end of the amp, and it silences it. Volume up, silent. We can bring the standby back on full power, right? That's about where the gain was. Just by backing the gain off to 1 o'clock instead of 3 o'clock. Now, drummer, usually you're standing, you know, this way, and the drummer's like over your left shoulder, your right shoulder. Point your amp at him. Because if you're going to be that loud on stage and he can't hear it because he's sitting behind your speaker, well, point it at him and then turn it up. But turn it up really good and loud so that he gets to hear what the audience gets to hear, because he'll be pissed as hell at you for being that loud unless he's really not very bright. So just a couple of bits of advice. If you're going to run high gain, put a noise gate in your effects loop, turn your gain down, and let your amp, your fingers, your guitar do the talking instead of being so loud, which is a big problem at many live events with guitar players. Am I making sense? Am I wrong? Help me understand. Hey, Rogue. Yeah, this is kind of a blue color guitar. Some amps have noise gates built in. Use it. Richard knows exactly what I'm talking about. And Rody, I think one or both of your guitar players in your band has a Marshall. I never hear it squealing, which is a joy. Because I run a lot of high gain tones at home, but I'm running through a computer system, so I don't need to be that loud. But in a live environment where you've got an amplifier, you've got to get your volume up to let the rest of the band hear it. And again, you know, I'm not touching my guitar, and the volume's all the way up, and the amp is turned up. And I think I can probably, yeah, I got a lot more volume left on this thing. And there's some noise, definitely. But if I open that gate up, I'm standing right in front of this amplifier. However, I'm going to point you at the amplifier and try not to show Cheryl Crow because she doesn't want anybody. So there's the amp over here, right, or the speaker cabinet. This is a little 8-inch, 8-ohm speaker cabinet, and I'm running out of the 8-ohm output. Turn the speaker cabinet around. If you got to be that stupid loud, you don't need it pointed right at you because you're going to go deaf, right? Yep, and I'm seeing the messages, and I get it. Here's another thing that drummers, who are usually the reason why, in many cases, that your guitarists, you know, are having to turn their amps up really hot, is because they don't own their own powered monitor, right? A good idea is to have give them their own mixer and have a microphone on your amp set up, run into the mixer that has their monitor, so that they can turn their guitar up that's not pointed anywhere at them as loud as they want in their monitor. And then your volume on stage is comfortable, the audience isn't getting blown out of the room, and you can be as loud as you want, but he can make you too loud for all intensive purposes. Yeah, this is super stupid high gain. Yeah, and Rogue, that was the deal the other night. He was already too loud, and he reached up and turned the amp up even louder because the drummer couldn't hear it, because they weren't situated properly. They didn't even think not that they would, because probably experience most of all. You know, and I don't even know how many shows I've done, live shows I've done, and where a lot of this, where I learned when I was 20 years old. I'll keep it brief. 20 years old, and I believe I was playing at Dante's in Portland. Might have been Eli's, and Aerosmith was in town. This is in 1992, 91 maybe. Aerosmith was in town, and their front of house sounded. They were playing the following night, and I got to work with Aerosmith in the recording studio in Portland. So I'd worked with setting up mics. I was an intern at a recording studio there. And, you know, there was no fanboy stuff. It was cool. But we set up and did some recording with the band. Well, the very next night, my band played, and the sound engineer, I let him know. He happened to be at the recording studio. He was at the venue getting stuff set up for the following day's show, and they had a day of rest. So at the gig, I fired up my JCM 800 50 watt. This is 100 watts, mind you. 50 watt head, started playing, and I was standing in front of my amp because it wasn't hitting me right in the face. And I played a couple chords, and I get this tap on my shoulder, and he's like, do you want everybody in this room to hate you? And I was like, whoa, who are you? And he's like, don't ever turn your amp up that loud. There's no excuse for that. I'll never forget it. And so I've not been that guy since that moment. I wait for someone to tell me to turn. I set it up at a reasonable volume where I can hear my guitar and everything sounds good. And then I let an engineer or someone in the audience say, hey, you need to bring your guitar up. I'd rather do that than have people's ears being pierced and walk out of the room. So be very smart about that sort of stuff if you're playing live. If you're on an open mic or whatever, pay attention to what's happening and how the stage is set. This is something that I witnessed just last Thursday, and it was brutal. Yeah, we don't always have the opportunity to have a house sound engineer, and at this particular venue, there was like one vocal mic, and I think they had the microphone run into monitors and no microphone on the guitars. They don't spend a lot of time setting up, and it was heavy metal, drop C tuning and the whole nine, basically this amplifier going. So hopefully this will help you. If you are playing a high gain amplifier, you can buy this foot pedal. It's a Donner noise killer, and I own a couple of noise gates for different amplifiers that I own. I own 2 different decimator noise gate pedals for this reason. That noise gate is not going to help turn your amp down. That's the volume knob on the front of your amp that's there for a reason. Okay, so just be real careful about being too loud, because I left. I mean, I had to. It was too loud, and you know, I wasn't going to go up and fix I should have, but I'm not going to go up and be rude and fix their amp situation, which would have been very easy to fix. I would have pointed that amp right at that drummer's face, exactly as loud as a guitar player had it, and let him feel what it feels like to stand in front of an amp. And it wasn't even a big amp. It's like a PV solid state something. Anyway, there's my little advice for the day, and I know y'all already probably know this. I'm not going to teach any of you guys new stuff. But thank you all for being here. The DSL is fixed. It's going to be back live on stage, I believe, in another month. And definitely New Year's Eve. This one's going to hit the stage. These guys don't play very often here. So, just as another detail, the other guitar player, not the guy that owns this amp, but my friend Ricky came over to my recording studio yesterday, and we recorded some music together, his own compositions. Started with nothing and recorded some stuff, and I want to thank Ricky for being prepared when he showed up. He knew the song, we plugged him in, and he just played, and it allowed me to put drums on that track for the entire arrangement and turned him loose with a cool groove that he could play to. I use Easy Drummer 3. I'm not sponsored by them, but buy it if you need drum programming software. It's just killer. Um, and we were able to get a ton done. We got done tracking guitars, and he sat down at the synth and started playing some synth. It was really a productive day. So if you do go into a studio, be prepared. And again, I want to say thank you, a huge thank you to Ricky for being so well prepared and knowing his material so well, and the arrangement. It was simple. And he knew his parts, and he played them friggin' tight. So that was really a cool moment for me in my own studio. It was really fun to have somebody come over and track. Yep, that's usually the case. Yeah. Yeah, and every drummer in the world, it should be a law that they need to own their own powered monitor, bar none, rehearsal or otherwise. If one of my rules for myself is I do not go to a gig without my own personal powered monitor. I own one. Yes, I have an amp and I have a speaker cabinet, but I also have a powered monitor, and that thing has saved gigs. I've said it before. The PA system in the room goes down or something happens, and um, if you have your own powered monitor, it can only just a 10-inch little powered speaker that's 60 watts. Doesn't matter. You'll be able to hear yourself, and you'll have your own monitor mix potentially. If nothing else, you'll be able to have a monitor. So, yeah. Hey, Michael. Hey, I saw you were on live today earlier. I think it was today. I didn't get a chance to watch that much at all. I was just on my lunch break. I clicked on it and gave you a thumbs up, brother. Charlie, hello, brother. Thanks for being here. Let's see. I'm going to check the time real quick. What time we got? It's almost 6 p.m. Okay. Going in about 5 minutes, Ron Ward, Homegrown Indie Live, is going to play some songs. And I think he asked for people to email him songs about their dog or that have dogs in them or whatnot. And it's interesting. I try not to ask for my own music to be played on shows like that if a request show is being done. I do my best to request other people's songs. However, I do have a song called Dog on my YouTube channel. So if any of you head over to Ron's show in the near future, it'd be cool if you requested that song. It's on my YouTube channel. You can find it. And it's called Dog, and it's a dark Alice in Chains kind of sounding song. It's about drug addiction, which I've had some really, not me personally, but the terrible nature of that stuff. Anyway, okay, I'm going to get going. Thanks for being here, you guys. I appreciate y'all hanging with me for a few minutes. DSL saved. Your feedback problem is now cured if you follow my advice, and if you own a noise gate. There you go. Oh yes, and the guitar neck is it's going to be killer. And I think he's going to bring that guitar in to me Wednesday or Thursday next week. He's letting lacquer cure on it right now as we speak. It's hanging drying right now. So